こんにちは、ジャパニーズアーモのミサです。Hey guys, today I'm going to teach you how to use ほど specifically ほどない this time. So first, ほど literally means extent, degree, but we will look at that meaning later. For now, remember this construction. X は Y ほどないません So you put the negation at the end. 例えば映画は本ほど面白くない映画は本ほど面白くないです This can either mean movies in general are not as good as books, not as interesting as books, or you're talking about a specific film. So you read the book and it was good, but the movie adaptation was not as good, then you can say this sentence. 映画は本ほど面白くない Or you can also say 面白くなかった So the past negative. It wasn't as good as the book. 例えば、ロード・オブ・ザ・リングの映画は本ほど面白くない。I don't know because I've never read the books, but my friends told me, so let me know if that's true. Instead of saying the movie is not as good as the book, you can also say the book is better than the movie, right? Do you guys remember how to say that? So, you'd say 本の方が映画より面白い。本の方が映画より面白い。You can also change the word order and say 映画より本の方が面白い。So although this lesson is about ほど, I'm gonna challenge you like this. So get ready. 次, how would you say Prague is not as expensive as London? Prague in Japanese is Praha. London, you say London. And expensive? 高い. So you start with プラハは and then ロンドンほど not expensive 高くない This is informal. Formally, you just add this at the end. プラハはロンドンほど高くないです More formally, you can also say 高くありません But 高くないです is formal enough. So, プラハはロンドンほど高くありません Can you try saying London is more expensive than Prague? ロンドンの方がプラハより高いです Or again, we can change the word order and say プラハよりロンドンの方が高いです。次 Let's try making this sentence. I'm not as busy as my friend who is a nurse. First, busy we say 忙しい Not busy 忙しくない Right. And nurse you say 看護師看護師 Do you know how we'd say a friend who is a nurse? So this is actually pretty simple. You'd say 看護師の友達看護師の友達 So when you want to say noun A is noun B, usually you'd say noun B, not noun A. I also made a lesson on this, so check it out. So let's try I'm not as busy as my friend who is a nurse. You can start with 私は but as you might already know, we often omit the subject, especially if it's 私, like I. So you could say 私は but usually you omit it. So you'd start with my friend who's a nurse. 看護師の友達ほど忙しくない。看護師の友達ほど忙しくないです。And if you insist on adding 私, then you can say 私は看護師の友達ほど忙しくないです。次。My father is not as good at cooking as my mother. So first, do you guys know how to say to be good at cooking? 料理が上手 and now not good at cooking. 上手 is a not adjective, so 料理が上手じゃない。料理が上手じゃないです。So if you just want to insult your father and say, my father is not good at cooking, then you can say, 父は料理が上手じゃない。Right? But now we want to compare him with mom. So, 父は母ほど料理が上手じゃない。父は母ほど料理が上手じゃない。Now let's try. My mother is better at cooking than my father. 母の方が父より料理が上手。母の方が父より料理が上手です。What about my mom's English is not as good as my dad's? Do you guys know how to say your Japanese is good? 日本語が上手 right? And now negate it. 日本語が上手じゃない。Remember, in Japanese, we don't say 私の日本語. Like to mean my Japanese, like your Japanese is good. So like you wouldn't say あなたの日本語は上手. It sounds a little unnatural. So you don't really want to say 父の英語 to mean dad's English. So you'd say マダはファダほど English not good. So you say 母は父ほど英語が上手じゃない。母は父ほど英語が上手じゃないです。So don't do 母の英語は父の英語ほど上手じゃない。It sounds unnatural. So far we've looked at X は Y ほど adjective ない。Adjective ないです。Right? Now let's try using verbs. For example, I don't eat as much as a sumo wrestler does or would. A sumo wrestler, we can either say 力士 or お相撲さん. I would say お相撲さん is more commonly used, but it sounds more informal than 力士. So in formal settings, you'd hear 力士. But in like normal conversations, you'd hear お相撲さん. So let's use お相撲さん here. So I don't eat as much as お相撲さん. So you can say 私はお相撲さんほど食べない。or 私はお相撲さんほど食べません。Formally. So 食べない is the informal way to say I don't eat. 食べません formally. 次 I don't drink as much as my colleagues. Colleague, you say? 同僚. So 同僚ほど飲まない。同僚ほど飲みません。Again, you can still add 私は at the beginning of the sentence and say 私は同僚ほど飲まない。私は同僚ほど飲みません。But you can omit 私は if you've been talking about yourself the whole time and it's still kind of clear that the subject is still 私。次。It's not as crowded as usual. So not as usual, you can say いつもほど。いつもほど。いつも can mean always, but いつもほどない not as usual. So いつもほど not crowded, not busy, we say 混んでいない混んでいません So 混んでいる is to be crowded 混んでいない not crowded. So you can say いつもほど混んでいない。いつもほど混んでいません。Now, what about today's train is not as crowded as yesterday's. 今日の電車は昨日ほど混んでいない。So here you don't have to repeat 昨日の電車ほど。Just 昨日ほど is enough. 今日の電車は昨日ほど混んでいません。If you're on the train and you're saying that to your friend, you don't have to say 電車. It's clear from the context. So you can just say 今日は昨日ほど混んでない。or 今日は昨日ほど混んでいません。So this is a very useful expression. You can say this anytime, right? Like you go to a supermarket and say, 今日は昨日ほど混んでない。You can even omit the subject and say, 昨日ほど混んでない。昨日ほど混んでいません。Because you're there right now, so you're probably talking about the current day. So you don't have to say 今日は。So this is very useful construction. You can say 昨日ほどない。For example, you're not as busy as you were yesterday. You can say 昨日ほど忙しくない。昨日ほど忙しくないです。Alright, now let's try adding some adverbs. 例えば、I cannot run as fast as Usain Bolt. So Usain Bolt, we can say ウサインボルト okay? And to run fast, you say 速く走る To be able to run, you say 走れる走れる Okay, it's not 走られる because 走れる is an irregular verb, unfortunately. So 走れる And the negation is 走れない cannot run. So ウサインボルトほど速く走れない。ウサインボルトほど速く走れません。Again, you can add 私は but you don't have to. So, with 私は it sounds like 私はウサインボルトほど速く走れない。次、I cannot draw as well as a manga artist. So, can draw a picture, we say 絵が描ける絵が描ける Again, I have a lesson on this, but when you want to say I can, the o particle often turns into the ga particle. So, 絵を描く becomes 絵が描ける And cannot draw a picture 絵が描けない絵が描けません So how do you say I cannot draw as well as a manga artist? 漫画家ほど 上手に絵が描けない。漫画家ほど上手に絵が描けません。So, I added the word 上手に to mean well. Remember 日本語が上手だ上手 So, 上手な is an adjective, and if you change the last na into ni, you make the na adjective into a na adverb. Well, it's actually ni adverb. Instead of 上手に, you can also say うまく to mean well. So here you can say 漫画家ほどうまく絵が描けない。And the word order can be quite flexible. So instead of うまく絵が描けない you can also say 絵がうまく描けない because adverbs are often placed in front of the verb in the sentence, so it's more natural in a way to connect the adverb with the verb, but doesn't matter too much. You can say 絵が上手に描けない or 上手に絵が描けない Oof, the lesson is already long, but let's learn another grammar point, which is also quite important. Now we're going to learn X ほど はない、ありません、いない、いません。And that means there's nothing more than X. And that means nothing is more than X. Or there's nothing more than X. So, for example, I don't think this is true, but just as an example, there's no country more beautiful than Japan, or no country is more beautiful than Japan. Basically, what you're saying is Japan is the most beautiful country. But yeah, so to say that, you can actually just say 日本は一番きれいな国です。So you can do 一番 plus adjective, and that means the most. So the most expensive, you can say 一番高い, the cutest, 一番かわいい. But we are doing the more complicated way this time. Nothing is more beautiful than Japan. I don't agree, but let's just try, okay? So, here we would say 日本ほどきれいな国はない。Informally and formally. 日本ほどきれいな国はありません。Here, instead of きれいな, it's an adjective. You can also use the adjective 美しい. But the word 美しい is often used in like poems, poetries, or used more in writing. So we don't really say the word 美しい when speaking. If you want to sound super poetic, you can use it. But if you want to sound more natural, casual, maybe stick to きれい. So, 日本ほどきれいな国はない. Informally, and formally, instead of ない, we say ありません. Okay? 日本ほどきれいな国はありません. Or if you want to say Japanese language is the most difficult language. So, again, you could say 日本語は一番難しい言語です. Okay? This is simpler, but you can also use this construction. Japanese ほど difficult language はない. Okay? You say 日本語ほど難しい言語はない。日本語ほど難しい言語はない。Or formally, 日本語ほど難しい言語はありません。So, ない、ありません at the end means it doesn't exist, right? So it doesn't exist. So no language that is more difficult than Japanese doesn't exist. Again, it's that full. The point is, this ほどはない can be super subjective. If you love pizza, you can say ピザほど美味しい食べ物はない。ピザほど美味しい食べ物はありません。So remember, ない and ありません are the negative forms of the verb ある, right? So the dictionary form is ある. So if you remember, ある is usually used for inanimate objects. And when you want to say there is someone, there is a dog, there is an animal, there is a person. So for an animate object, you say いる. And the negative forms of いる are いない informally or いません formally, right? So when you say there is no one who is more than X, and then you say X ほどはいない or はいません. Okay, so for example, there's no better Japanese teacher than Misa. So Misa is the best Japanese teacher. Then you say ミサ先生ほどいい日本語の先生はいない。Or more formally, you can say ミサ先生ほどいい日本語教師はいません。Or you can just say ミサ先生ほどいい先生はいない。Again, you can simply say ミサ先生は一番いい先生です。Right? You can say 一番いい to mean the best. 一番いい先生 the best teacher. But you can, make it fancy and say ミサ先生ほどいい先生はいない. And this is mega cheesy, but you will probably hear this in maybe drama or maybe songs. あなたほど綺麗な人はいません. There's no one more beautiful than you. So basically you're saying, you are the most beautiful person. あなたが一番綺麗な人です. Again, I've talked about this in many videos, but saying あなた in general is quite rude, okay? So if you know the name of the person, just say that person's name, or omit the あなたは part, like we do for 私は, and just say 本当に綺麗ですね. I mean, you are really beautiful. Don't say あなたは本当に綺麗ですね because you are trying to give a compliment, but at the same time it sounds rude because of the word あなた. あなた is only acceptable if it's used in songs or books in general, okay? So in books, yeah, you can write. So in songs, if you want to be like, oh, there's like, you are the most beautiful girl, you can say あなたほど綺麗な人はいない. It's fine, but in real life, if you know the name of the person, use it. So, あさこほど綺麗な人はいないよ. あさこさんほど綺麗な人はいません. Okay? There is no one more beautiful than you, Asako. Alright, that's it for today. My throat is really sore, so I'm going to end the lesson here. There are more ways to use hodo, so I'm going to make a part 2. So don't worry if I didn't cover something you wanted to learn this time. Next time, I definitely will. Okay. Alright, thank you so much for watching. じゃあまたね。バイバイ。